Morning Dish.
He's the hardest working man in show business. His band's music takes you into the midnight hours. And when you wake up, his voice is back on your radio alarm clock. How on earth did this happen?
Well, Jeff saw me taking out the trash at the radio station.
And he won another award.
But this one is better.
I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am.
It's the Morning Dish with the 2019 Radio Personality of the Year winner, Stephen Phillips.
You paying attention to this, Packy?
And Murphy's own Sherry Raines.
Yeah, you must have given horseback passes to the right guy, Stephen.
Well, giddy up.
And Packy Smith's Shetland pony is right alongside.
You guys know these demo tapes don't just edit themselves together, right?
Well, all right.
3 cheers for Stephen Phillips.
Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen Phillips.
All righty, folks, we're back with you, and I am tickled to death to have mean old Nellie Oleson. I hope I can say that. Alison Arngrim, how are you, girl?
I am fine, thank you. Yes, I was absolutely vile and terrible on that show. I enjoyed it so much.
You know, I'm going to tell you I'm disappointed because actually you're really a nice person, and I was hoping you'd be mean.
I know, it's like ruining my reputation, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like, you know, a lot of the people that play the bad guys are always super, super nice people. I don't know why they do that, but...
I have found that in meeting people, it almost never fails. I meet someone who played like the worst villain, and they're so nice.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, okay. Well, you know, my mother used to say, because people would ask my mom when I was on the show, like, good heavens, what's she like at home?
Right.
And she'd say, well, it's all out of her system by then. She's great.
That's always
so maybe
good.
we get it all out of our system doing it, and so we're in a good mood the rest of the time.
There you go. I don't. Now, your mom did voiceovers too, though, right?
That's right, yeah. My mom was Norma Macmillan, and oh, good heavens, she was the voice of Gumby.
Yeah.
She was Casper the Friendly Ghost, very popular.
Right.
She was Sweet Polly Purebred, Underdog's girlfriend, and Davy of Davy and Goliath.
Wow. That's had to be so much fun. But
well, it was awesome because I was a little kid, and I'd turn on the cartoons on Saturday morning, and half of them were my mother.
don't you, I miss Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, growing up, that was the day, wasn't it?
It's all infomercials now. You can't find a good cartoon Saturday morning. I was like, why are there no cartoons? You know, you have to go to Hulu. You know,
Yeah.
Hulu has a lot of the cartoons. It's
Yeah.
all the streaming services have the cartoons, and they put all the ones I like on Hulu now.
Yeah. I was always a Bugs Bunny guy. Of course, my life is kind of like
Right.
Wild E. Coyote. That's the way I always end up. But anyway.
Yeah. I think that the whole Looney Tunes collection now, you can go to one of them, Amazon or Hulu, and that's what it's like, well, we need some Bugs Bunny around here. Animaniacs, anything.
Well, I know everybody listening knows you from Little House on the Prairie. There's no doubt. And I'm sure you've about talked that to death. But you got a lot of other stuff that you're doing that is really interesting. I've been watching you on Facebook. You actually...
Have you been catching the readings?
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Well, what happened is, okay, so I was already, very fond of, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram
Right.
and all that stuff. And I had been doing stand-up for a long time, and I was touring. So when the pandemic hit, I was booked for New York, and I was going to Missouri, I was going to France, I was going to Ireland. I had everything. Well, of course, they said, well, you're not going anywhere now.
Right.
And I remember I said to my husband, I said, well, what am I going to do? And he said, well, you'll think of something. You always think of something. And then I said, I'm going to go back and reread the Little House on the Prairie books. I haven't read them in years.
Right.
And then I thought, well, everybody else is bored, too. I guess I'll read them on Facebook Live.
With your hat, with your bonnet. You wear it with your...
Got my bonnet. I had a whole box of bonnets because I was ready to go to all these autograph shows, so I'd ordered extra bonnets and
Right.
a crate of bonnets in the living room. So I go on Facebook, and I started page 1, book 1, Little House in the Big Woods, and put on a different bonnet every day, match my blouse,
Right.
And this went on. Well, we hit our 1-year mark, and then because I started over the books again, because I did all the Little House books, then I did Laura's daughter Rose's books. I read some Anna Green Gables,
Right.
the Canadians. We did everything, and then we started again. And on Saturday, we'll be reading number 365. We're going to crack some champagne or something.
There you go. That'll work. That's pretty cool, though.
But people love it. They
Yep.
tune in. I've been doing cooking videos on Monday, and now, of course, so many things are online. I've done a couple of autograph shows online. I got another one, and now finally, I got my shots and went out to Missouri, and so we're now done a couple of in-person events, and we've got some stuff in July, so it's going to be a mix of online, in-person. We'll do a little of both.
Well, now, that's the thing about it. You do stand-up comedy, too, but I got to ask before we go any further. Did the blueberry pie taste as good as it looked?
Better. I'm telling you, it was so good. I gave a big chunk to my friend who's stuck at home. He was loving it. And then Bob and I just ate a big slab last night with vanilla ice cream. And I didn't add too much sugar. You know, the recipe says, 4 cups of blueberries and a whole cup of sugar. And I'm like, okay, that's a lot of sugar. Blueberries are pretty sweet. The ones I got were very good. So, I don't know. I had maybe half a cup of that. And, yeah, it didn't need much sweetening. It was great. And then my husband's like, oh, my God, I can taste the blueberries. It's tart. It's not overly sweet. It's fantastic. And the crust nice and flaky. It was actually kind of amazing. I said, I haven't made enough pie lately. I went out and bought more Crisco. I got to make more pie. I'm
gonna tell you, it looked delicious, no doubt. The stand-up. How long have you been doing stand-up?
Oh gosh, I started doing stand-up actually as a teenager. I was like 15, 16 years old during Little House, and had to do something else. And I was playing the Comedy Store in the Laugh Factory, and then I did it off and on for years, and I toured. And then around 2002, I started doing a whole one-woman show thing, Confessions of a Prairie, you know what?
Yeah.
And that took off. So I wound up doing that all over the country. And then I was in France. I finally went to France for the first time and found out they're obsessed with Little House. La Petite Maison dans la Prairie. Love their Little House in the Prairie there. And I hooked up with this guy, Patrick, and we started doing a whole show. Now I have a whole French comedy review. So I have a French version of the show, an American version of the show. And I was touring. Oh, man, I was out of the house on the road 5 months or more out of the year.
I love it. I do. I don't say, we play the music. I've got a hillbilly band we play around in. And I'm up there with a group of men. I cannot imagine. We have a lot of comedians on the show. Hey, you're up there by yourself. I think I just wig out. I think I just wig out or forget my...
It was definitely, and it's so crazy because when I was growing up, I was actually rather shy, and I think the stand-up was sort of a way to overcome that. And now I still do, and then I don't know how it is, but I like being on stage. It's been very weird. I've been doing the online ones. I've been doing there's a great thing called stageit.com, where all these bands and comedians can go online and do a whole pay-per-view. It's in your living room show. So I just did, hi, I'm in your living room now. I'm in my living room. How are you? And did a whole show there. And then I'm going to be doing a show in South Dakota, because in July, big thing in De Smet, because De Smet, South Dakota was one of the places where Laura Ingalls and her family lived. So they have a big pageant. Me and Dean Butler from the show are going to be there, and I'm going to be doing a show there. And it's so crazy because it's all these years later, it's the fans' attachment to the show. They want to hear the behind the scenes stories. They hate Nellie Oleson, but they also like laughing at her and like hearing stories about how crazy it was that I played this awful person. So it works. It's amazing.
Well, I think it's great. I'm going to tell you something else that I think is really cool. You do a lot with child organizations or children organizations. Tell us a little about. I love that. I'm actually a full-time school bus driver when I'm not on the radio, and so
awesome!
I see a lot of these kids, with troubled homes and this, that, and the other. But you do a lot with that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I got a call a few years back. They're starting a thing called Protect, or National Association to Protect Children, and you can go to the website protect.org and check us out. And I got on the board of that. I'm president of the board now, I'm pleased to say. And amazing stuff, really wild stuff you wouldn't think of. I mean, going into the legislature at the state level, federal level, saying, okay, you got a loophole in the law here that's letting people who abuse children go free. That's got to go. That's ridiculous. You don't need that. You just give everybody the same kind of sentence. Fixing that, increasing penalties for things. Also making sure the funding, because there's a specific team of police, and you read about them now and again, like that terrible thing about, Jared from Subway. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, that's called ICAC, and each big city has like an ICAC team for their region. And we would go and lobby. The government said, well, how much did you fund that program for? Well, you need to double that because here's what they're dealing with.
Right.
And we also dealt with the technology. We have a thing called the Weiss Center, Child Rescue Technology, because, a lot of these guys on the Internet, with the child pornography, the trafficking, all the terrible things they're doing, they're very technologically advanced, and there was a time where they were getting one step ahead of the police every time they tried to catch up with them. And we said, well, that needs to be fixed. You guys need better tech. Let me see if we can't help you out. So we work all those different ends, making sure that law enforcement gets the tech they need, training people to go work for ICAC. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. Right. And it's been pretty cool. But you can check us out at protect.org and see all the stuff we've done. I'm very impressed with them.
Well, I'm proud of you on that. I mean, that's especially giving back, a lot of people that's got a name to get behind something like that really means a lot. And like I said, I drive a school bus, and I'm involved with kids all the time. And
so, you know.
I know all about it. But, I'd say when you walk in, they say, oh, my God, that's Nellie Oleson. We better do what she says or she'll push us down.
Well, it does. And that's the crazy thing. It totally does have an effect.
Right.
Because it's so often, celebrities, and I say you got a platform. If you're famous at all, my God, you could go on TV and say, "Hey, plant a tree and adopt a kitten." Anything, right? You can use this for good. But it is amazing how often, when you go into a situation about funding or go into a situation, absolutely about politicians passing a law. Oh, we know you. Oh, yeah, you were on TV. Yeah, we'll take your meeting. Oh, yeah, we'll talk to you.
Right.
So it's well, all right then.
There you go. That'll work. So, but anyway, no, I don't know. I guess you being Nellie Oleson, of course, after it was on. Of course, it's still on. Little House on the Prairie is still on. I can remember when I was growing up.
It's on every day in 140 countries. It's out on DVD. It's streaming on Amazon. It's like Star Trek at this point. It's just on like everywhere all the time.
I know it was. We watched it growing up. That was one of the things. Of course, I miss them shows. I don't think they have what back in the day growing up as good as what they have.
No, and Little House really holds up. That's what's amazing. There's shows from the 70s I like, but I watch them now and I go, oh yeah, well I was shot in the 70s. Little House holds up, I guess, because the material was so. Laura Ingalls Wilder's books, which came out in the 30s, for heaven's sakes, and, we're about the 1800s, that stood the test of time. Those books are still getting published and republished and put out over and over, and those books are still being read by kids. They're still being taught in school, and everything. Those books are really popular. Right. And then the show, it was sort of timeless, and I've asked people in other countries, I say, why? Why is Little House so popular? I meet people from Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Borneo, literally all over the world. And I say, okay, I get somebody in the U.S. watching Little House. Okay, I sort of understand France. But what does Little House on the Prairie, what on earth does it mean to you? And they said, no, we can identify. You have a family. They have a lot of children. They're kind of poor. They don't have a lot of money. They live in a tiny little house. They have that awful woman at the store they have to deal with all the time. Right. The kid is bullied at school. We can identify with this. This is how most people live. This we understand.
Yep, just because it was back in the day. I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so now you've got a book that you've had out for a while.
Yeah, Confessions of a Prairie. Well, we'll say rhymes with witch on your
There you
show.
go. There we go. We do that.
And because people called me that. It wasn't my idea. I went to school the first day after Little House on the Prairie, and some girl screamed at me right in the middle of the schoolyard. And I started getting called, and people said, you were really on that show. You were a bee. And I was like, well, this is an interesting thing. And I thought, well, what do I do? If I try to resist this, if I say, stop that, there's nowhere to go. So I thought, well, what if I sort of like took it and ran with it? What if I, can't beat him, join him? What if I sort of said, okay, fine, yes, and went with this? Well, it was a great idea. And then, years later, I'm thinking, well, the show's over, we're done now. No, the show just sort of escalated. The show got more popular. And the character of Nellie, there's like internet memes. There's things on Facebook where they got like that kid King Joffrey from Game of Thrones who kills everyone, his picture and mine, and it's like evil has a face. It's a thing. And I thought, well, what a great idea. If I say, no, I don't want to talk about that show, well, why not talk about it? First of all, the show's good. It still holds up. Right. People like the character. It's funny as all get out. And I thought, well, what if I took it and ran with it? What if when I wrote my autobiography, I put everything in, the good and the bad, everything that really happened. But I also talk about the show. People wanted to know, what was life like on the set? Mm-hmm. What was it like spending all that time with Michael Landon? And I thought, well, I'll tell them.
There you go.
It was very popular.
Well, that's, honestly, I don't blame you. And I'm going to tell you, of course, you were, 12 or 13 years old when you did that.
Yeah.
You did a great job. Honestly. And the thing, for people to hate you because you played that part, that's even better because that means you sold it,
Right. That's the crazy thing. People are still scared of me. That my poor husband, people, you're married to her? What's that like? People think it's real. But I said, all these actors always say, oh, I want to play a part so realistically. I want to be so good that just people suspend all normal disbelief and they think it's real. They don't see me as the actor. They only see the character. Well, apparently I did this.
You did it. You
so
did it.
what happens if that actually happens? You have people coming up and screaming at you 40 years later about what you did when you were 12.
That is so funny. That is so funny, but you're absolutely right. But I'm going to tell you something. You are a very sweet person. You got a lot of stuff going on. We're kind of getting close to a break. So these folks out here listening that want to see what you're doing, what you're up to, and what's going on next, where do they need to go to?
Oh, everywhere. Okay. Now, luckily, when I'm on Facebook or anything, I'm just Alison Arngrim. My fan page is Alison Arngrim, easy to find. I have a website called bonnetheads.com, because all my little prairie folk like to wear their bonnets, bonnetheads.com. And settle down, kitties. I have a newsletter. You can get the Nellie newsletter. You can sign up for it there. Also, I got a movie coming out. I made a movie, lovely, lovely people. They made a movie called Even in Dreams.
Right.
And it's a really nice movie. It's a nice movie. Everybody can watch it. It's about a nice girl, and she sings, and she's got this band, and she's really sticking to her principles and trying to make it in the music industry. Of course, I play the evil manager.
There you
go. Doing
go.
everything
Right.
for her because I'm evil. But everybody else in the movie's really nice. And so that's coming out like in August, called Even in Dreams.
Okay.
Gosh, I got the cooking videos on Monday. I read Little House and every day at 1:30 on my Facebook page. I've been doing stand-up shows on this thing called StageIt.com, which is marvelous. I'm going to be July 24th. I will be in DeSmet, South Dakota with Al Manzo, Dean Butler from Little House. And then right after that, I'll be in Keystone, South Dakota with Miss Beadle, Charlotte Stewart. We're doing an event. So I'm everywhere. Galaxy Con's doing a thing online on July 10th. I'm going to do that. But yes, I'm on bonnetheads.com, protect.org, and Facebook, Alison Arngrim.
There you go. Well, girl, I sure do appreciate it. And bonnet heads, that is so funny. The only other famous person I know that's got anything close to that is Jimmy Buffett with the parrot heads. So that's pretty
right,
good.
Exactly. It's the same kind of thing, because we're like, okay, do we call it like Trekkies? Do we call them Houseies? What do we call the hardcore bonnet heads?
There you go. Well, girl, I sure do appreciate you taking your time, and I'd love to get you back on here maybe in a couple of weeks or 3 or whatever,
Sure.
and see what else is going on. And I'll be keeping up with the cooking videos. I love the food.
Oh, yeah, that pie was so good. I don't know what I'm making next week. I have to come up with something else.
We'll be watching. Hey, I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.